Hi, my name's Jafar and I'm here to talk about my healthy urban precinct, that is for Studio Urbanism for 2023. So about the site itself is located between West Terrace, North Terrace, Grey Street and Hindley Street. There's various different space that can be introduced and I will tell you why. About the site, there's a lot of different spaces such as the open car park space, the market space, as well as various different openings, which has a lot of potential, but it has not been fully used given its personal use by the current owners of the land. There's also heritage buildings along the site as well. However, with its heritage structures, it is built in very intricate spacing within the site that allows smaller and very intricate buildings to only be located within the corners, which currently have been used. The site itself is not flat, it is sloped diagonally within, I believe, northwest of the site, tilting downwards. Thus, the site will need to be elevated or need to be excavated in specific areas, but I will try to encourage as much as the original slope as possible within the site. There's a lot of different things that's also located around it. You also have the parklands along the west side of the city, west side of the structure. You also have the train going through the northern terrace, and you also have various different residential space within Grey Street. And Hindley Street is known for its night bustling space, but because this is the west side of the city, there will mainly be students as well as those going to West Oaks. Circulation through the site is fairly dense between West Terrace, North Terrace and Hindley Street. Hindley Street just depends on the time of the day, but West Terrace and North Terrace is high due to the fact that it is connected to the main street that is not just adjacent to the tram, but is also adjacent to where the Royal Adelaide Hospital is. And given the fact that it is flowing through North Terrace, the North Terrace is also connected to the main road that actually connects to other additional spaces that is outskirts of the city. It is the main road that most people within the city would take to leave Adelaide if you were to go up to the northern west side of Adelaide. Within the site, there's Newmarket and Rose Street, not very used, but it's very hard to go through, and I believe that is also where we will need to talk about its issues. It's got heritage buildings within. You've got the Newmarket Hotel along West and North Terrace. You've got the Hindley Streets, Canadian Lodge, and you've got the row houses. That's not just on one side of Grey Street, but it's also another one on the other side as well. There's not a lot of buildings, as there is the private medical center, which is located along 8, 9, and you've got a studio within 10. You've got a private parking around where 7 is, and you've got a lot of different spaces that is unused within building 5, and building 6 is currently not being used within for anything for some reason, as well as the one that's surrounding the Newmarket Hotel. You also have the Macca's, which is currently using a large space for parking but a very small space for its little structure, which is currently being wasted. Existing greenery is extremely low, which is also an issue. Thus, if I were to do my design, I would need to implement additional greenery space, but because of the brief, which requires the implementation of various different structures, I will need to place them not just as green walls, but also along the rooftop as well. Sun analysis allows us to see that during summer and spring, it is going to be along the north and west side, the east and west side of the city, but on a higher degree, whereas west is a lot lower. Thus, the residential space will be easily determined along the northern side of the city, and the main structure should be located within the center to provide shading for the west side and the east side of the structure between times of the day. Typologies, you've got various different things. You've got public, private, community, heritage along the corners, and you've got private along the medical center and the parking, and you've got the public parking here and commercial as well. Site conclusion, there's a lot of unused space that needs to be addressed and needs to be re-looked into, which include the open parking spaces as well as the unused buildings. Unfortunately, one of the unused buildings, which is the Canadian Lodge, cannot be touched, but there is a possibility to interact with the surrounding buildings to try to encourage more businesses to go into these old structures. Design strategies I would be implementing today would be increasing safer roads for not just cyclists but also for people who's going through the site as well. As one of the main roads is Hindley Street, there needs to be easier and a lot smoother transition through the site without feeling like that you could be attacked out of nowhere. Densifying the site for the residential space, so then I can implement residential, aquatic center, and various different buildings as well as the Medi Center and the hospitality and retail. Encourage as much connection throughout the site as possible, as we have the tram and the RIH on North Terrace, and you've got the Parklands on West Terrace, and you've got some other interesting pubs and buildings along Hindley Street as well. Residential space through Grey Street will need to be a lot less, as it's mainly connected to where residential space is, thus it would be better to have it a lot more quiet. Using precedents that I have found, there is various different things, as one of the things I need to address is incorporation of greenery space, which is seen in Singapore's Campus Admiratory, as well as the interlace, as well as the design in Istanbul's urban rule. A lot of these spaces have very interesting rooftop gardens as well as open space, which I will try to implement in my design. Thus, finally, will be the last, which is Foundation Cartier, where they implemented not just the greenery space within the site, but also surrounding and through the site as well. Got the circulation. I try to flesh out the open spaces for the buildings before I can place in circulation. Try to do a lot more free flow through that as well. And massing models through arch caves surrounding the site to kind of encourage a lot more friendly space, which is because Adelaide's mainly Italian community, so try to encourage more traffic through that as well. As you can see, there's a lot of experimentation, but there's a lot of open space and road which has not been fleshed out yet. Thus, the last final experimentation allows me to indicate where the road is going through, as well as the pathways that will be dedicated for the residential, as well as the ongoing public as well. Public urban circulation that actually flows through. As you can see, they're easily going throughout the site. You've also have the black one that actually goes underneath the site for the car park connected to the residential space along North Terrace and West Terrace. You've got the elevations, north, south, east, west as well. As you can see, it's definitely not on a flat land, and if you were to look into the north section, you've got a car park at the bottom, footpath that goes up, into not just the first set of buildings, which is residential, but also the center building, which is connected to the Medi Center and other stuff as well. So the one I'm going to be doing for my detailed study, which is the one on Grey Street, is the semi-open cafe. As you can see, it's surrounded by the building where I implemented the trees within the center. Has a nice open space for not just an open greenery space, but always open seatings as well, to allow like if people want to have like an outdoor space but not have the tailwinds of Adelaide. If I were to say, it's not the best, but it's nice when you have nice summer sun and nice grass without having to cop the wind. But if you do like a bit of the wind and as well as sitting alongside, there is also the option of the semi-open space, which is along Grey Street. As you can see, it's along Grey Street. Within the site, it's got like an open space within the center. It's got a cafe space here, seatings along the edge, and a little elevation that goes up where the space, so you can oversee the flow on a higher level. It's got the wall here because there's a residential space here, so you don't have to worry. And that's all. Thank you very much for listening.